Today I'd like to talk about the importance of Christian nationalism or Christian populists in the United States. We have to have a pushback to degeneracy in this country. So, for instance, this is why I think it's important for us to support Christian nationalism in the United States, and have more Christians do political debates and also have more Christians in government authority because of the good morals and ethics of Christianity. If we don't support content like this to oppose degeneracy and promote Christian populists, the degeneracy would only get worse. So, for instance, like one day, they're going to want to lower the consent age to 12 years old simply because women are fertile at that age and they could reproduce. And I think Christians would be the ones to stop that, If that day comes, then you guys are going to be like, oh, Isaiah was right. Dang, he was right. We didn't support Christian nationalism. Now look at the degeneracy that's going on. Now they want to lower the consent age and let people get married at certain ages. And this is why I think it's very important for Christians to be in power. This is why I think it's a Christian nation and why we should support those kind of things. That's why I make content like this, so we can oppose the degeneracy and promote Christian nationalism, call out the fake virtuous men and women. If morality is subjective, then Christians have just as much right to rule as a secularist. And that's an important point to make. Secularists want to base their morality off preferences, and Christians, we base our morality on God's judgment of things, what you should and should not do within the confines of Christian ethics, which I think is important for civilization. If we start to get rid of religiosity like Christianity in the United States, then I feel like it'd be a bad thing. From the, we have transgender ideologies, kids trying to be transgenders, and kids trying to be transgender. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't be that way. We have to have a pushback to those kind of things. And I feel like Christianity is the answer to most of the United States issues that we have. And that's why I made this channel. That's why I do the movement that I do. This is why I make content for that specific reason. Because I think we need a pushback to the degeneracy. Because all secular minds ever do, and ruling secular authorities and secular people in governments, all they ever do is sprinkle degeneracy onto more things. Instead of banning OnlyFans, things like that are not good. It doesn't promote good things at all. If anything, it just lets people live that fast life, and then these women go in there trying to make big money, and then most of them die by the age of 30 because it's a fast life. It's not a good life. They're just destroying themselves, destroying their souls. We have to, a lot of times, feel like men have to save them from themselves. Now, when it comes to, the name of my channel, The Patriarchal Society, it's, I know a lot of people say, oh, the patriarchy oppresses women, this and that. A lot of people look at it as a negative thing, but in my opinion, Christianity is a patriarchal faith, right? And the patriarchy in Christianity does not oppress women. The patriarchy outside of Christianity does. So that's why I think That's why I call this channel The Patriarchal Society with the Christian worldview. Because women in Christianity are not oppressed, but men are looked at as the leaders and the heads of the households. And I think those are good. I think those are good ways for society to function. The nuclear family is the backbone of society, if you think about it. If we didn't have families, what reproducing would there be? If we don't have any more families, the birth rates are in a decline now, and that's a bad thing. I think governments need to promote more families, have more families, promote more family things, make movies that are more family oriented. And a lot of these medias and production companies are moving away from that, and instead they want to promote transgenderism, things that don't promote having families. It's promoting more degeneracy. We need more families if we want the population to be sustainable in the United States. We need more nuclear families. That's what keeps the world going. That's what keeps the human population alive. Without families, what do you have? There's no reproducing, and then humans just disappear. And I feel like that's why I say Christianity is the answer to these issues that we have in the United States nowadays. And it's also one of the motivating factors of why I make this channel. Call out things, call it how it is, but also try to have a pushback to the degeneracy that we've seen in this world. That's what I'm here to do. Modern feminists have perverted the word of God. They're trying to get into churches. They're trying to be preachers when they're not supposed to be preachers or priests. It's written in the doctrine that no woman should rule over a man. It's in Timothy 2. If you go check out Timothy 2 in the Bible, it clearly states that no woman should rule over a man. Because Adam came before Eve. And Eve was deceived and became a transgressor. You know what I mean? That's why men have always been put as the leaders. It's how God intended. Now, that doesn't mean, the patriarchal society that I envision is a Christian society. That doesn't mean women can't work. That doesn't mean women can't pursue their careers. Yeah, they can. They can pursue their careers. They can do they can do a lot of the things that men could, but they shouldn't. They should be more, homemakers. But if they want to chase a career, that's cool. It's just when they chase a career, it comes with a price. It comes with the price of them losing out on the opportunities to create a family, to reproduce young, to have that energy. I think young moms are better than older moms because they have more energy for kids to deal with that kind of stuff. When you're older, having kids in your late 30s, you're going to be tired. You're not going to be able to discipline the kids the way you should. The mom's not going to be able to do the things that they need to do. That's why men need to be traditional and providers, but they also need to be the ones to put their foot down, be the leaders. Not just try to blame feminism for it either. Not just try to blame modern feminism for it. Put their foot down, be those traditional men, provide, be the leader, but also be a respectful leader. Respect the women, give them their place in the home. Doesn't mean they can't work. They can if they want. I don't see the problem with that. But they should be more focused on reproduction. For sure. Because if we have more families, it's just a lot more. It's a better society, in my opinion. It's a better society to be promoting families than it is to be promoting degeneracy like we see nowadays. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to stop the modern feminists from perverting the word of God, from, ruining certain aspects of society by, trying to push equality down people's throats. Women and men are not equal. We know that. But, women can excel in a lot of things as well. A lot of things that men could, of course, It's just, you just have to be realistic. Biologically, we were all designed to have our place in nature. It's always going to be that way. It's just that now we have, modern technology and endless jobs to work. But it's still a game of survival of the fittest. It's still about hunter and it's still about men being hunters and gatherers. It's just in a different form. You know what I mean? It's about the way you hunter and gather now is by having a good career. Hitting that 6-figure income so you can take care of your family. So your future wife can stay out of work. Let's say she gets pregnant and she can stay away from working for a few years. So she can help raise the kids and be around the kids more, because it's important that you nick those bad habits that kids grow. And when the parents aren't around, it's always an issue. And that's why I think we should promote more families, and why I think Christianity is where it's at for this nation. Christianity is the answer to most of the problems. A lot of people don't want to hear that, though. People don't like being told what's right or wrong, what's moral or immoral. They don't like it. They don't want to hear that. That's why there's a lot of rejection of it too. But I'm here to promote this kind of stuff. I'm here to stop them from, ever trying to lower consent ages to 12 just because scientifically women are fertile at that age, because it would happen. If we let that kind of shit happen, it will. Oh, but we're in the modern times. What's wrong with that? This and that, It's like, that's the kind of ideas that get pushed out there. You let anything slide and people won't care. Also, marriage is between a man and a woman. It's a holy sacrament. I don't see why homosexuals want to get married. Like, yeah, sure, you can call it a civil union, but that's not a real marriage, Then they want to adopt kids. It's like, what? Why you want to adopt kids? Why don't you just go have your own? Go find a woman and have your own instead of being homosexual. That's my solution to that bullshit. But a lot of people aren't going to like me saying that. A lot of people don't like me saying I'm a Christian and then I'm a conservative. They hate that right away. They're like, oh, he's full of hate because he's Christian, blah, blah, blah. No, it's just, I judge. It's a righteous way of judging. People don't ever want to hear that. This is why I think it's important that we support content like this, or any kind of content that's Christian nationalism. And also, Christian nationalism has nothing to do with white nationalism. Blacks and Hispanics hold that ideology to the equal amount that whites do believe in Christian nationalism. So no, it's not. Christianity is not a white religion. Christianity was in other parts of the world before it was in Europe. It was in Africa before it was in Europe. And obviously we all know it started in the Holy Lands, Bethlehem. But it was, it was in places like that, like Bethlehem, Jerusalem, and Africa way before it was even in Europe. So no, it's not a white religion. People get that mixed up. White nationalism and Christian nationalism are not the same thing. And that's one thing I want to clear up as well, because I get that. There's that misconception. That misconception is very common when I have debates with people or conversations with people online. That's something that I'd like to clear up as well, because it's not like that. We're not trying to oppress the women. It's not misogynist to want a patriarchal society, a Christian patriarchal society. There's nothing misogynist about it. If anything, we want to do it to protect the women and the kids, because that's what matters most. But a lot of modern feminists don't like that. They're like, oh, well, I don't want to have kids. This and that. It's all right if you don't, but you should still acknowledge the importance of having family values, traditional family values, because that's what's going to keep the human race going. That's what's going to reproduce the future leaders of society. That is why it's important. And that is the movement. The patriarchal society is about opposing degeneracy, calling out the wolf in sheep's skin, calling out the fake virtuous men and women, and promoting Christian nationalism. You know, I'm also going to be talking about, how dating should be for believers. You know what I mean? And how it's better to, if you want to be married, it's better to be within religion like Christianity. Because getting married as a secular person, secular man or woman, you gain a lot. Yeah, there's a lot more to lose. There's no fear of God. So it's just a piece of paper at the end of the day. Secular marriages are really pointless, in my opinion. There's nothing that's going to keep them together at the end of the day. If they want to split, they will split because they don't believe in having that fear of God and it being a holy sacrament, something serious. Especially Christian Orthodox. Christian Orthodox people are way less likely to get divorced. Their divorce rates are like in the low 20%. Seculars are in like the mid to high 40% divorce rates. So it makes a difference. Obviously, Protestant Christianity's a little higher, probably in the 30s, 30 to mid 30s, but still significant, still way lower than the secular marriages are. That's why I think if it's not for religiosity purposes, what is the point, right? It's better to do it within Christianity. There's more fear of divorce. There's not fear of divorce, but there's more shame towards divorce. And it's about being together. And, when you have two people that come together that have strong faith and pray, they're unstoppable. Their marriages usually last a lifetime, if not way longer than a secular one would. And that's what I'm here to do. Promote all that. Promote a Christian patriarchal society. That is my goal. That is what I'm doing with this channel. And yeah, thank you for listening. I think I'm going to come up with some more topics for the next episode. I'm going to do some reactions. Definitely need to do some reaction videos to certain conservative medias that I like to get into as well. But yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.